So, Jason, we've been talking a lot, as lots of people have, about the amazing opportunities that come with AI. But there are limits. What is one of AI's biggest hard limits?
You know, Tim, as you know, the big frontier models that are out there right now, we know them, use them, love them. The thing is, though, is there's also reason to be skeptical of them being able to do certain kinds of things that I think people expect, you know, because their expectation comes from the movies about what AI could or should do. First of all, there is only so much human knowledge written. There's a lot.
There's a lot. Right.
And I would say that all the frontier models have a very large chunk of all human knowledge within their world. Knowledge is massive. Let's just call it that. But it is finite.
Sure.
And there is also a lot of bad and junk human input as well.
Sure.
I'll give you a really good example, which is bad database coding is something I have to stamp out of my own AI-based coding because the frontier model I'm using has picked up a lot of the bad habits of developers who don't know how to talk to databases well.
Huh.
So in other words, it's been trained on all the bad stuff.
Sure. Okay.
So imagine in the full course of human coding history, there's good code and a whole pile of bad code.
Right.
And I think that the AI models right now are merely at the point where it's like they haven't fully sorted out yet which is which.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if every example is a vote and there's more of the bad stuff than the good stuff, then the votes go to the bad stuff.
Now, obviously, anybody who is training these models, they're working on this.
Sure.
They know this problem,
Of course
not
they
a new
are.
problem.
Yeah.
But here's the problem that they probably can't get around completely. All right. So we're at a point where the frontier models are fairly new still. And so they're still being trained mostly on original human stuff. Well, they're now increasingly being trained on AI-generated stuff. And the AI-generated stuff, you know, the old adage of, you know, you tell a story to one person, by the time it gets down to the 100th person, it's a completely different story.
Right.
If you photocopy a piece of paper 100 times, you know, each time you photocopy the photocopy, all of a sudden, like, the degradation is terrible. Well, this recursive loop of AI-generated slop training itself turns into what? And it is, the best way for us to describe this is it's an entropy story.
Okay.
So you'd think that AI training itself, just with no other rules being put in, obviously there's a lot of training techniques that avoid a lot of these problems. But the biggest way to avoid these problems is human in the loop somewhere. But the pressure to make world knowledge even bigger, there's only so much.
Right.
And a lot of it's crap.
Sure.
So when you're dealing with very soon a system where it's literally recursively training on its own mess, it literally dissolves into unusability. And very smart people have written papers on this. There used to be just one. In fact, when I first proposed this little chat today on this podcast, there was one particular paper that I was going to cite, but now there's several talking about this problem of recursive training in AI that eventually it turns into unusable and completely unusable information. Just like that paper that's been photocopied 100 times or the story that's been told 100 times. It just turns into something else and not a useful thing.
Okay.
And so the biggest struggle with the big frontier models right now is how to deal with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do we deal with that?
So there are reinforcements, basically reward systems that There are reward systems that are part of training AI right now that actually reward outcomes that are useful, better, subjective terms that you and I can use that mean complicated things in reality with the model. That's great, but the problem is what happens when the recursiveness, what happens when we're 2-3 years into this and we have so much AI generated stuff that it vastly exceeds any human generated stuff.
Right. Yeah. And humans in the loop don't scale.
Humans in the loop don't scale. That's a major problem. So that's one of the biggest bottlenecks right now to what's holding AI from becoming what you see in the movies or what you can envision. It's a problem. And I think that AI definitely has hit that wall right now. But it's an interesting topic, and that I think from a cybersecurity standpoint, there will be big implications to it as well. And there'll be some podcasts we're talking about that topic soon.
Cool. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.